Welcome to the Bentley Systems training course to learn how to model foundation systems in the STAAD Foundation Advanced General Mode. Over the next series of videos, we will show you how to model foundation systems in STAAD Foundation Advanced. This will include two major workflows. The first workflow is to model your supports and your loads directly in STAAD Foundation Advanced. Our second workflow is to import your model information, including your supports and your model loading, from a STAAD.Pro analyzed model. In this video, we will be focusing on the workflow for importing information from STAAD.Pro. STAAD Foundation Advanced does have the ability to import the supports and loading from an analyzed STAAD.Pro model. For this video, we'll show you how to invoke that import process and add any additional information that might be required when using a STAAD.Pro and STAAD Foundation Advanced workflow. To begin, we will go to our desktop and launch our STAAD.Pro application, and we're going to open our sample model that was supplied with this training. Now for this course, we are going to be sending over model information from this STAAD.Pro model that's already been created. All of our members have been created and all the properties and specifications have been assigned. In addition, all of our load cases and load combinations have also been created. Now before we can send any information over to the Foundation Design Post-Processor or STAAD Foundation Advanced, we need to analyze our model. That will ensure that all of your supports will receive the appropriate reactions once we get over to STAAD Foundation Advanced. So I'm going to go up to my menu bar and I'm going to select Analyze followed by Run Analysis. After the analysis is complete, we're going to stay in our modeling mode and then click Done. To invoke the foundation mode, we're going to go up to our Mode toolbar item, and we're going to go ahead and select Foundation Design. Now from this screen, we'll be able to select which supports and which loads we want to send over. For this particular model, we're going to go ahead and say use all supports. So basically everything that was modeled as a support will go over to STAAD Foundation Advanced and will be a candidate for design. The next choice we have is what load cases and load combinations do we want to send over. For this particular model, I'm going to send just my load cases and not my load combinations. So I'm going to select each of my load cases. That would be my seismic, dead, live, and wind loads. I'm going to go ahead and click Include. Now we have two major options that we can do for sending loading information over to STAAD Foundation Advanced. You can send just your load cases, which is what we're going to do in this video, and then you can generate your load combinations directly in STAAD Foundation Advanced, and we'll show you all the ins and outs of doing that particular workflow. Your second option is to also send your load combinations that you generated in STAAD.Pro over to STAAD Foundation Advanced. There's a few things you're going to have to think about if you're going to be doing that particular workflow. First of all, in your STAAD.Pro model, you want to generate the load combinations that would be appropriate for a foundation design. You're going to want to generate service load combinations and also ultimate load combinations that you're going to want to design your foundation system for. Once you get over to STAAD Foundation Advanced, you're also going to have to tell the program which of those load cases in load combinations are considered as service load or ultimate load. So there's a few extra steps that you might need to do for that particular workflow, but both of them are allowed. For this particular model, we're going to send just our load cases and we're going to generate our load combinations over in STAAD Foundation Advanced. So once I've set all of my parameters, I'm going to go ahead and say Run STAAD Foundation Advanced. STAAD Foundation Advanced will automatically open, and all of that loading information is now being ported over. If I review this information, I can go ahead and expand my foundation plan area. I can see all of my supports have been modeled. I can expand my load cases and factors group, and I can see all of my load cases and all of the reactions at each particular support have also been sent over. Now once all of your model information from STAAD.Pro has been sent over to STAAD Foundation Advanced, there are a few other things you're going to want to consider if applicable to your particular model. The first thing are pedestals. Now pedestals can be modeled in STAAD Foundation Advanced, but they're not the type of element that usually gets modeled in STAAD.Pro. So if you do have pedestals that you want to be considered in your foundation design, you can go ahead and model them directly in STAAD Foundation Advanced. So over in my main navigator, I'm going to find my foundation plan group and select my pedestal and anchor bolt option. And if I would like to consider pedestals, I would just change all these flags to yes. And then I would enter all of my pedestal information. In addition to pedestals, we can also need to take a look at our load cases and load combination. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my loads and factors group, and I'm going to see that all of my load cases that I selected in my STAAD.Pro model have successfully been brought into STAAD Foundation Advanced. The next step would normally be to generate our load combination, but before I do that, let's go ahead and take a quick look at these load cases. And what I'm going to just review is some of the load case or load description information for each one. Dead load so far is looking good, but as I go to the rest of the load cases, I'm going to notice that this loading type is not set correctly. And basically, whenever you send over loading information from STAAD.Pro, it'll automatically default to dead load. So all I need to do is go to each of my load cases, and before I generate my load combinations, set the correct loading type. Now that my loading types have been created, I'm ready to generate my service and ultimate load combinations. So I'm going to go ahead and select my Generate Load Combination command. I'm going to review my code. I'll select the ASC 710, and I'll go ahead and say Generate Load Combination for my service loads and also for my ultimate loads. And now I can see that all of my load combinations have been created, and I don't have to worry about at this point whether or not something's a service or an ultimate load combination because these combinations were generated directly in STAAD Foundation Advanced. If I had brought these load combinations over from STAAD.Pro, I would then need to take an extra step over here to tell the program which is a service load, which is an ultimate load combination. And I'd want to make sure that I had the right load combinations for a foundation design. At this point, this completes our process for sending model information from STAAD.Pro to STAAD Foundation Advanced. As you can see, we saved ourselves a lot of time by modeling something in one program, STAAD.Pro, and then sending that information over to STAAD Foundation Advanced. This saved a lot of modeling steps and it also ensured an accurate model. Now these two products are linked together, so if I need to go back to STAAD.Pro and make any changes, I can again just run STAAD Foundation Advanced and update all that information with the new loading that was applied. At this point, I can go ahead and save my model, and then I'd be ready for the next step, which is to actually move into the foundation design.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.